fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. I'm Rosemary Lachance, a Reiki energy healer and spiritual advisor.
And I'm Traci, Crampton, an energy practitioner.
And we are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, and environmental concerns in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their fields. We hope we can help you find the answers you are looking for. We encourage you to embrace the show with an open mind and continue to ask questions that will lead you to better health and greater understanding in your own life. We will give you our contact information at the end of the show if you would like to know more about tonight's show or any of the past shows. We hope you enjoy the show.
And this is our 73rd show. And tonight we have with us a returning guest, Larry Webb. Thank you for coming back, Larry.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Welcome, Larry.
Absolute
Welcome.
pleasure.
And we'll touch a little bit about what Larry did, but he's back for an entirely different reason this time. The title of the show is Michael Jackson's Disease. Is there a possible cure? Michael Jackson's disease is called vitiligo, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. And Larry's here to share a little bit of that further on in the show. Larry's deep understanding of addiction, because he's an addiction counselor, is both experiential as well as academic. His personal healing was instantaneous, and here we're talking about the addiction aspect of your healing. And he was able to translate this to others. Larry has been a drug and alcohol clinician here in the state of Connecticut. With 13 years of study on spirituality combined with ancient healing practices, Larry has developed and is the founder of Insight Alternative Addiction Healing. The use of meditation, Ho'oponopono, which we touched upon in an earlier show, and Safa, and vibrational alignment techniques are just some of the tools that Larry uses to unveil the true secret of healing. Speaking tonight on his personal journey is about, the skin condition that he developed over time, I guess, and has since then healed. This condition was a skin condition that causes the lightening of the skin. And he said that his kids once called this condition the man on his face because he actually had a figure on his face that resembled like a whole body of a man. So that was really interesting, and maybe some past life connections there or whatever we speculate. However, we're really happy to have him on the show because not only has he gone through this experience of healing with his addictions and then has been of service to others, to help them along with their struggles, but now he has a whole nother personal healing story to share with us. So
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you for sharing this story with us about yourself.
Oh, I feel very strong about this story.
This
I really
is
do.
great. This is so
Especially
great.
how it affects others.
Absolutely. So maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about the skin condition and maybe the news you received from your physicians. And
Okay. It actually really started out with this a little spot over the top of my eye, and I had noticed it, and it kept growing and growing, and then my brother had noticed it. He said, what is that? And I said, I have no idea, just a spot. And as it went clear across my eyebrow, it kept getting bigger and bigger. And I decided I would seek help for it. And I went to see dermatologists and to see if I can find something that would make it go away.
Yeah.
I wasn't really that concerned about it. I was like, I'm getting older, I have a spot. And as I went to a professional, they told me it was vitiligo. And it's the same thing that Michael Jackson had. Everybody remembers Michael Jackson had the one glove on?
Yes.
Right.
Well, the start of that is he had it on his hands. The places that it shows up the most are on your hands, on your face, and on your genitals, actually. Wow. So those are the places that it really shows up on people.
I wonder why that it would just come on those areas of the body. That's
See,
interesting.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why too.
And it was explained to me by the doctors that it's a autoimmune disease, yes, and that they didn't have much as far as cures for it, but
Yeah,
they were
well,
going
we
to try
know.
different techniques, different creams, and things like that.
Well, we know Michael Jackson really struggled with it and did some very extreme measures.
It's very
Yeah,
extreme.
then he bleached all of himself,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Poor baby.
Yeah.
Went through so much.
yeah. And that's I can imagine how that felt because as it grew all over my face, and you get people's reaction to it, it's really hammers your whole person, your whole soul, because it's like hard to explain. People think there's
Yeah.
something wrong, something's wrong with you, and they ask you.
Yeah,
Right
I've
out.
often thought about that with people who are born with like a birth defect, like those red wine
Yes,
birth defects.
yes.
Or, yeah, it's
Yeah,
got to
so-
be very hard to.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
wonder-
when I see people today with it now, I can't help but tell them my story when I see them on the street, because I know that when I look at them, I can feel. I remember having those same feelings when someone looked at me.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder if it would help people with the birthmarks that are.
I am wondering that myself
You know.
also.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I know you brought a photo with you, so maybe we can pull that up to
Yeah.
show
Sure.
our guests exactly
Sure.
kind of like your before picture.
My man on my face, yes.
The man
Yes.
on the face, yeah. So here
There
it
it
is,
is.
ladies and gentlemen, as you can
That's
see.
what it turned out to be.
Spread
take-
quite a bit. And
Yeah, take a good look at that. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
Isn't that
All
something?
right. So over what period of time did this develop?
That probably developed within a year from the spot to
Really?
that.
A
Yeah.
year? That's
Quickly.
all?
Yeah,
Wow.
it went-
I
was-
think that's quick, though.
Me
It
too.
was
That's quick.
spreading. It was spreading, and it wasn't going away. And one of the suggestions that I was given that is to put a steroid on it, and they could try to rub that in. But I was warned that the possibilities of losing your eyesight
Oh, wonderful.
would be something that might occur.
Oh
And I
my
figured
God.
since I wouldn't have any eyesight, I'd never see it again. So I didn't want to try that. So it was. But I did try other creams and everything like that, and nothing seemed to work. It just kept spreading and spreading
Yeah.
until it got to the photo that you just saw.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was at that point I had just pretty much given up and said, this is part of who I am, but I have a strong belief that everything is possible and you can heal anything.
I believe that, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of people have asked me, especially some of my clients, they said, so you just got positive and it went away? And I always say, actually, I got in alignment with healing and something came to me, is how that really occurred.
Yeah, I agree.
Rather than, I was trying to make it go away. I wasn't trying to make it go away.
You weren't specifically looking, like seeking that cure.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And a friend of mine, Jane, who we all know, had
been on
mentioned to
our
me,
show.
because I was diagnosed with diabetes at one time also, that, this one thing called chia seeds are really good for that. Good for people who are diabetic. It's high in omega oils, high in protein, and it's good for your skin.
And diabetes is also an autoimmune disease.
Yes.
So maybe
yeah,
there's
that's
a
why they went
connection.
hand in hand, actually.
And now our audience probably only knows chia seeds as chia head, chia pet,
Chia
the
pet,
things you put
the
on
exact
those
one.
clay pots and water and they get big. Yes, that's
But
that is what we're
they are.
talking
It is
about.
actually
It's the
those
same
seeds.
thing. Those
Yeah.
seeds.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Amazing.
and the funny part about it was, so a good friend of mine tells me about it, and I read up on it. And chia seeds, oh sure. And I said, no, I'm not eating chia seeds. And so I waited a year before I ever added them to my diet. But with anything, our medicine used to be food. And when you start talking about things that are healthy for you and nutrition value, I started to change my diet. So I started to add all these different things into my diet to feel better, to walk better, to feel good.
Healthy eating.
Healthy
you mean
eating,
Just healthy
yeah,
eating.
juicing in the morning, and I just changed everything. And I was sitting watching a program, and David Wolf was on, who's a really well known as far for nutrition. And I heard him talk about chia seeds. Someone said, "What can you get that's inexpensive, but has protein if you're not going to eat a lot of meats?" And he said, "Chia seeds, inexpensive, high in protein. It's a superfood."
Superfood, yeah.
It's in the top 5 in superfoods. I was in the top 5. I'm
Wow.
like saying to myself, that's what Jane told me a year ago. Better get some chia seeds.
Ding, ding, ding. The little,
Yeah.
see, but you're listening. Your ears were open because you were intentional. And
The student was ready, and the teacher appeared.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how it is.
Yes. So at that point, I started making all these shakes in the morning. I was taking them. And one of the things that a doctor did tell me is, you can get makeup, and cover it up.
Yeah.
So before I went to work or went anywhere, I would take makeup and I put it all over my face. And for a gentleman who's never had to use makeup, ladies, I understand makeup.
Yeah.
And since it was brown makeup, of course, that matched my complexion, whenever I hugged someone or kissed someone, it stayed. It stayed. So I had to be very cautious about it, and it was all over your clothes. It was just a nightmare. And so when I was home, I would never worry about it because my family didn't care. They were just like, we love you the way you are. But our little joke was that when I would go to work and I would leave, sometimes I'd forget to put the makeup on. And I would leave and I'd be driving down the street, I'd look in the rearview mirror.
Never forget.
Yes.
We've been trained since teenagers.
Understandably. Well, I'll tell you, I saw myself in the mirror and I hadn't put the makeup on, so I'd turn around, go all the way home, and I'd ring the bell and I'd say to my family, Batman, it's on my face. And they'd laugh and I'd put the makeup on and go. And that's the way it was for about a year and a half of living with that, and just getting tired sometimes and just going out in public with it and just watching the people's reaction and feeling it every time. So as my diet went on.
What do you think the lesson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what do you think the lesson was in having that kind of exposure and having people react to you that way?
It was such a great lesson for me. I'm glad you asked that question. It was such a lesson of, this is who you are. You're more than what you are on the outside. You are. It's your spirit, and that's really who you are, and that's what really mattered to me. And then it really taught me how to accept that, what other people's reactions, and not have any reaction to it, no matter what was said. So spiritually inside, it was really, really a great lesson, and I'm so blessed to have had that one.
Yes.
On my journey here. So yeah.
So we might as well tell our audience, what you changed your diet, how you changed it, how you took the seeds, and how it all came about, so they can know. I
had taken the chia seeds, and I was told that you mix it with water, put it into a jar, mix it with the water, and you just shake them up, and half and half, and it turns into a gel, and you can change the consistency of it. And I found that the gel had no taste. So I personally love it. I could just take my 2 tablespoons a day, and I was fine with that. And then I'd make my shakes. And I put all these different items in my shake, green products and kale and avocados and supplements that I have, and make my little morning juice. And it was just fabulous. And my whole family would watch me in horror with all the stuff, all the green stuff I was putting in my body.
I'll try and slip some of that green stuff into the smoothies for my kids. When they're not looking.
They're not looking, but a little bit in there. And the amazing part was, I never noticed that it was disappearing. My little.
And I know you told me when you shared your story with me initially that it was hard to figure out what was helping it to disappear, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you were taking the chia seeds for the diabetes?
I was taking it for the diabetes and
for the protein.
Protein, weight loss.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was just had all these superfood in top 5. I said, why not have from the top 5 in there?
Right.
Amazing.
But you changed so much at the same time that sometimes when you do that, people it's hard to figure out what is actually helping you. So it may be more beneficial to start one thing and then add another.
Well, so I had everything going all at once. And one day my little girl says to me, the man on your face is going away. I said, the man on my face is going away. And I looked in the mirror, and then I found an old picture of me, and I looked at it, and I was stunned. I was like, she's right, it is going away.
Gradually,
so I said, okay, so I have all these things that I'm now using. I need to separate them. So I started to separate one by one. Stop using this one. Stop using that one. Stop using that one, and until I broke it down to see which item was actually making it go away. So I was taking one of this, trying it, nothing would happen. Try this, nothing would happen, until I actually got down to chia seeds. The more I took, the faster it moved away. If everything else that I assisted helped that, maybe so. But the more I just ate the chia seeds straight, it was moving away fast, and I noticed the change, week to week. I could actually see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, God gave us all we
Incredible.
needed and all the natural things that are here on this planet.
Yeah, and it was once again to be in alignment with healing, in alignment with having that happen. So, like I said, I put chia seeds off for a year before even trying them.
Yeah.
And once I added them, that started to really work for me. And I was amazed, and I said, I think just keep watching this. I want to watch and see if it completely goes away.
Now, can you put that directly in your smoothie?
Yep.
Okay, because
You can put it directly in.
You make the gel and put it in there.
I've been told some people say that you need to activate it with the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then put it in.
And then put it in.
So you have to loosen the cellulose on the
Yes.
seeds.
Yes. Yeah. So
And there's an amount you can take too much, or can you overdo
I was only
it?
taking 2 tablespoons a day, but I was told you can take 2 tablespoons before every meal.
Okay.
And I just, like I said, it was just a routine that I was in. My was 2 tablespoons for me.
Well, when
Until
you broke it down, then what?
yeah, until when I broke it down,
Yeah.
I just started eating chia seeds and just to see how fast it would move.
Yeah.
And
and
so you
then-
had more then.
Yeah, then I'd have a tablespoon before every. I started to drink it. I started to have it. Before every meal, I would have at least a tablespoon or so, and just kind of watch it gradually go away.
And what did the doctor say?
Amazing.
That was amazing. And my doctor was excellent, excellent doctor, great dermatologist, and I waited till it was all gone except for like one little spot right there, and I went back to visit him, and he was amazed.
I bet he was.
Amazed.
I'll bet he was.
If I can quote him, he said, "Oh my God, oh my God."
Really.
Yeah.
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 So now he's
and then
gonna
he
tell
like
his
took
friends.
you. I remember you said he like took me aside like privately because he was like, nobody has
was-
found a cure. We've been studying this. You
Well,
can
exactly. Like he said, universities have been studying this for 20 years. We don't really have anything. And it was interesting too because I had looked it up. I had looked it up to see what there was for cures, and the medical community pretty much said there wasn't any cures. There was some companies that were advertising coconut oils and stuff like that, and saying that had an effect, and
Yeah.
swore by it. But the price was astronomical.
Oh,
And
sure.
here's something very affordable.
A small bag of chia seeds is about $5,
Wow.
and it lasts you about a month. So yeah, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
And to show our audience that you do not have makeup on right now,
There's no makeup on. There's nothing. Or I'd have
Show 'em your hands.
all
There
over
you
my
go.
hands. I would have all of my hands there. So there is nothing.
no.
Yeah. Just another miraculous healing that I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I going back to what you said about alignment. I know my daughter, had an autoimmune problem when she was very little, and I've shared this on the show before that, I remember like you can fill yourself with the fear of like the possibilities of what can continue to go wrong or what this can turn into, and because there's plenty of information out there that's doom and gloom.
Yes.
And then I remember, it was very vivid to me that one night, like at like 3 a.m., as I'm poring over the information on the internet, that I said, I just want to align with hope. I just want to, find, stories and information about people who have, healed this. And all of a sudden, it all came to me,
It's
And
so
now
wonderful you say that.
she's completely recovered from that. And
Yeah.
they said same thing, lifelong autoimmune problem.
There is something to the process of letting it go
Yes.
is when it begins to heal. The more you try to do it,
Desperation
Yeah.
repels it.
the less it actually works. I was teaching a meditation class last night, and I remember this story about the great samurai. And a young student came to him and said, "I wish to be a samurai." And he said, "Oh, you don't have what it takes. You just don't have what it takes. You're not that kind of a person." And he goes, "Oh no, I'll really work at this. I'll really do it." "How long will it take me?" 10 years, he says. No, you don't understand. I'm gonna work at this really, really hard. 20 years. was the answer. So it was that same kind of thing. The more attention I put on making it go away, the less the more that it actually increased. And it was when I finally just said, "Let it go," and I stopped worrying about what people said and what people thought, and just went about my life. The healing came. The healing actually came.
What made you decide, to start healing? What made you decide to go ahead and take all those things?
Yeah.
I had diabetes. I was diagnosed with diabetes, and that was another gift that was given to me to learn from. I'm a person that doesn't really get sick. I think healthy. I believe healthy. If I feel something
Positive,
coming
yeah.
on, I just say, I have a really strong immune system. You're not going to survive here, and it's going to go away, and I don't get sick that way. So when diabetes was diagnosed to me, I was just really amazed. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I heard all the horror stories. I heard the dangers. Went to the doctors, went to the nurses, and I studied and I learned it. And once again, I was in the world of fighting this disease.
And which is, there's a real message in this that if you're in that attitude of fighting, and we hear this all the time with cancer, especially like fight the cancer. And I think it's more about acceptance.
Yeah, accepting that is, Wayne Dyer says that he has leukemia, and he says he accepts it, and it's something that he's living with, and being able to live with and live happy,
right,
and live well. So that was really it. That diagnosis and trying to live that way. There was a point where I had neuropathy so bad, which is one of the side effects basically from having diabetes. It was so bad that I couldn't take a sheet and put it on the lower half of my body.
Tell people what that is, neuropathy.
Neuropathy, it's numbness. It's kind of a painful numbness that you get mostly in your feet, and it becomes painful.
From diabetes?
From diabetes, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
to the point where they start to amputate.
Yeah.
Oh.
They start to cut and take things off, and I had heard that, and I was like, whew, cutting. That's something I'd really want.
I'd like to avoid that.
Yeah, but I was told if you keep your sugars down and keep everything in alignment, you should be okay.
But you did get that feeling. You started to get that feeling?
It was horrible. It was horrible to the point where my family had decided to put a ramp on the house because I was walking in so much pain.
Now, you weren't doing anything for the diabetes. You were not changing anything. You were just accepting it
initially. I was taking all the shots, taking all the pills.
Oh, you were medical.
Oh, yeah. I did the whole medical way. I went full force. And I think I had 2 wake-up calls. The first one was with this wonderful nurse who told me about nutrition and how to, monitor myself and check myself, and the 4 pricks a day and just insulin and the whole bit. And so I was just really learning from her. And it was just to me, like such a struggle to be doing it. I hate needles, so that wasn't a balance for me to be sticking needles in me. And I was like, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And then one day I was explaining to her about what I do with addiction and healing. And I was explaining, and I got emotional about it, and how people can heal anything.
Absolutely.
And she turned to me and she said, don't think you can heal this. This is totally different.
She said that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that scares me when that message is...
Yeah, that's not a good thing to say to someone.
So my overall feeling at the time...
Some people are so vulnerable to that. They'll just believe it. I mean, there's few of us who will just be like, I'm not going to take that, I'm not going to believe that.
Right.
And that's what I said to myself. I said, why would you say that? So much fear.
Yeah.
There's no hope. I couldn't believe that there'd be no hope. So that was my last appointment with her, which really was my last appointment. That was my last one. And I was like, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
But they sent me there was one day where this leg had collapsed. It was so bad in bed. It was the day before New Year's, and I was supposed to be managing a restaurant the next day. And I stepped out of bed to go upstairs, and I couldn't stand on the leg. The pain was that bad. So they rushed me to the emergency room. And they basically told me, it's neuropathy. It's going to happen. They got me crutches and said, "This every once in a while, this is going to happen.
Flare-ups.
You're going to have a flare-up, and this is going to happen."
Yeah, even with the medicine and the diet too.
Yeah, but as long as I had kept my blood sugar levels at the right thing, they said probably won't get worse, but it's not going to get better. Was what I was told. So they sent me to a neurologist, and that was another blessing. And he tested me, put electrical probes on me and tested me for the pain level that I was having. And I was feeling the pain from the electrodes. And he would say, relax. And I was saying, how can I relax? You're testing me. So at the end of the test, he said what every other doctor had said, you have neuropathy. It's not likely to get better, but you can keep it from getting worse if you can just control your numbers, which meant to prick your fingers and check and check and check. And as I was leaving his office, he said the magical words to me, and that was, I want you to come back 6 months from now and we'll test you again. We'll see if the pain got worse. And I said to myself,
So he's already
I need you to tell me if the
set
pain
up
got
for-
worse.
Yeah.
I can feel the pain. So
Yeah. I mean, when my daughter was going through that, it took us a long time to get an appointment with a gastroenterologist, and we had changed so much for her at that time, like all her diet, and she was healing, like, I mean, very well healing. And when we went to the gastroenterologist, they said, now, we want her to go back on all the foods that were making her sick so that we can get a diagnosis of her intestine to see how it's reacting to the foods that were making her sick. I'm like, I don't need that kind of label. Like, I don't need you to have to do such an invasive thing to her and make her sick again so you can get, you know, some type of another type of diagnoses, you know. And I just thought, that's very backwards.
Yeah.
Here this kid is finally healing. Yeah.
So anyway,
So I walked away from that appointment really thinking, why do I need to go back and let him tell me if the pain got worse? I'm experiencing the pain as I walk over a manhole,
you know.
and the pain's off my body.
Right.
So when I left there, I just said to myself, no, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start walking. Even if it's painful, I'm going to heal this. And that's going to be how it's going to be. That this is not how it's going to be. I guess the other thing that kind of really got to me was I was walking, was going to a funeral, and a man with a walker passed me. That's how slow I was walking in pain. And I was like, he passed me. I can't live like this. And I just decided I'm just going to start healing and find ways to heal.
Yeah.
So I started to exercise a little bit and started to change my diet. And then I saw, somehow I saw a DVD about Raw for Life.
Yeah.
And I saw that where they were taking people who had diabetes, taking them off of
I've
dairy.
heard that.
Yeah, taking them off of dairy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
alcohol,
Gluten.
all meats,
Yeah.
and within 30 days they were off of insulin.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that not long ago.
It was amazing. And I was like, that was for me. So, and prior to me actually seeing that, the pain in the legs had ceased. And it's been 3 years, going on 4 years since I've never had another collapse in the leg. The pain is gone. I can run. There's none of that anymore.
And how about your your sugar and all that? How is it?
I feel fine.
Yeah.
I feel fine.
So you're not taking any medication?
I do have insulin.
Okay.
And I take it when I feel like I want to take it.
But the diet.
But that's for me. That's how I live. Yes.
But the diet, you've changed your diet.
Change my diet.
So is it raw food? I mean, can you give people an idea of what, what they should be not eating, or what they should? Let's say what they're, what you do.
What I do, there's a couple of products that I use basically, and I really started to study David Wolfe, and started finding out a lot of stuff.
He's been mentioned a couple times on this show.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's if you don't know who he is, just type him in on your computer. His parents were both physicians, and he actually at one time said they don't know how to heal. And
Is he a natural
grew up with
physician
them.
or allopathic?
He basically went on and started studying herbs and ancient cultures and what to eat. And I am not positive, but I don't think he eats solid food. I could be wrong about that, but he juices, and there's a lifestyle about it that is just amazing. And it's huge. We would never think it is, but it's huge, but you have to kind of look for it.
Right.
And just like the chia seeds came to me, I'm sitting there listening to him talk about the chia seeds, and it just set off a little bell in my head. Chia seeds, I've heard those before.
Yeah,
I'm going to get those. Avocados, they call them David Avocado Wolf.
I love avocados.
Avocados are superfood. And there's many of them. I could sit here and list them. And I just try the ones that I like. And I mix different things with them.
Yeah.
Raw cocoa without the sugar.
Yep.
So I'm off of all the sugars, white bread, and very little meat, if any at all. So your diet just changes.
Has your family's diet changed too, or is that?
Half of the family's diet's changed.
That's a difficult one.
Yeah. Yes, me and my significant other, our diets have changed a lot, and we both juice.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Wow.
That's great. When you juice organic, I assume, right?
I juice as organic as possible. Sometimes that's difficult, and then sometimes it's questionable what's organic if you can grow it yourself. Even our soil doesn't have as much nutrients in it anymore.
Yeah,
so you have to kind of go a little bit beyond that and search a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
For different.
I think some foods are more absorbent of pesticides, and other foods you can, and you have to get the organic type, but other foods you can get away with a little.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like strawberries. They one of the biggest ones that absorb pesticides. Terrible. Yeah. No protection at all on those. Yeah.
So I experiment a lot. Let's put it that way. I experiment. Every morning is a little different.
So do you attribute that with your diet and the chia seeds also? For that too?
I think it's all. I think
Everything?
the more you can do, the more medicine that you can feed your body through your diet,
Right.
and good drinking water, really helps. Really helps.
So that's what you contribute to helping the diabetes.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
It's interesting because of the show we were having you on about the skin condition, but and because that's an obvious thing.
Yes. Yes.
Like you said, in people's reaction, but the diabetes is huge. I mean, you've cured that too, just about.
I mean, I'd see when I saw this thing for Raw for Life, and I saw they took 6 people and brought them out there and changed their diet, and it was difficult. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
But healing anything is a lifestyle change. It's people say about like addiction. They say, you can stop any addiction, but can you change your lifestyle?
Yes,
That's
because all the things that are related to that
yes,
addiction,
if you can,
friends and your social habits and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
the friends part of it is easy because when people see you, like people's reaction to what you have in the morning and what you're drinking in the morning, they look at you like it's awful. Like, how could you do that?
Yeah.
But when the results happen, when something like that is gone, what else can you say? And I've had other people that have gone on a raw food diet or changed their diet, and they drop 40 pounds, and people look at them and still look at them and say, "What are you doing?" Well, they feel good, and there's nothing better than feeling good.
Yeah, when you get that feeling, you don't care about going back to.
When pain is gone, it's.
Now, when you say raw food, you talk about juicing, and then you talk about also eating your vegetables raw.
As raw as possible.
Yeah.
If you're going to cook them very little, because you start cooking the nutrition.
You change the
value
molecular
right out of it.
structure.
And then maybe a little olive oil or something that's healthy on it, or something, a little lemon juice for seasonings and things like that.
Yes.
Lots of things like that. And your whole grains, I guess your breads. And do you do grains, whole grains?
I try to do no breads at all.
No breads? Oh, I thought
No
you said
dairy.
just not white.
I don't do any dairy. I get rid of dairy.
Okay.
Which is one of the things that they had also said is get off of dairy.
How about eggs?
No eggs.
No eggs.
No milk. The milk that I use is almond milk.
Yeah, me too. I don't do milk.
No sugar in it.
Now you're off sugar completely?
If I add sugar, I use a agave.
I
A little
love
bit of agave.
Yeah.
That's got a low glycemic index.
Yeah. Agave and cocoa, natural cocoa, is an excellent mix. It changes everything.
Wow.
It's that's one of the. I think that's a superfood also. The raw cocoa.
Yeah.
And what about like grains like quinoa, or that's real high in proteins, complete protein, or buckwheat or things like that? Do you do that?
I don't really do that. I use the chia seeds because it's very high in protein. Yeah. I've been using. That's my daily routine, so I haven't changed it.
All right.
Nothing's come back, so I'm sticking with what's really working. I actually heard David Wolf say once, there are many, many different things, mushrooms and different things that you can take. And he said, but if you can just master maybe the top 20,
Right.
do you need 207?
Right.
Now, what do you do when you go out to dinner?
I'm just very careful how I eat. Just very careful how I eat. I eat salmon and things like that, so, but I'm just picky.
Okay, I'm just giving the audience a little bit of an idea
Yeah.
of what
What
they
they
might
could
have
do,
to change. Yeah, and then of course, should they see someone in the natural health field before they do this, or not the chia seed, because that's a discovery that you made, so that they can do that themselves.
And that's the
That
thing
one,
when you're dealing with foods too. You're going to have less reaction than if you were trying different supplements or.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the supplements I take are very natural.
Yeah.
From the earth, basically, and they seem like ashwagandha is one. It's another one in the top 5. No one would ever think of tasting it. If you took it by itself, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible taste.
What is it? An herb?
It's like a root.
A root. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a root, like very similar to ginger. Yeah, very similar to ginger.
You take it in a pill form, or
I take it in the raw powder form, and I throw it right in, or and just mix it right into my blender. You know.
Yeah, you can get capsules too of those with the powder in it, so that you don't need to taste it directly, I guess.
Yeah.
So people should read, I guess. Read it and find out what you...
Really, I highly recommend go online. Type in David Wolf's name. You'll get people from off of him that he works with and stuff like that, and they have this whole movement. And it's, like I said, it's huge. And it's you learn a lot. You learn a lot. And when you feel the difference in your body, and you don't feel pain, and you feel your energy level, one of the things that I stopped feeling was coffee. Coffee is not good for diabetics.
Yeah, coffee.
Actually, it's not really good. So, you still want to have energy in the morning. So there is a recipe that you can make, and get the same energy, get the same flavor as coffee, and you get no shake.
Chicory is.
You get no shake, nothing, no heart racing, none of that, and the energy lasts all day. It's not an energy drink. It's not like a little bottle capsule thing that people fire in. You know, because you have to read all that and see what all that is. So instead of that, you just try to go as natural as possible, but you learn about it. Right. And then just keep experimenting and trying.
Maybe you should be teaching people how to do it. You know, it's another part of your career.
It's part of, with the addiction work that I do, that's another part of it that I've added to it.
You have added to that.
You have to change. You have to change everything.
Some people, think with the addiction that is a type of allergy, or sort of like you get those same cravings, like if you were diabetic for sugar and something, that craving that your body is missing something. So
yeah, and it's the whole thought that it's a disease and this is what it is, and if that's it, then you have it and that's it. But when you change your thinking, I can't come on this show without mentioning. Bruce Lipton, his newest book is out.
Oh, I love him. Biology of Belief was his other one, and he's amazing.
His newest one
what
is
he's about. Yeah,
he's a biologist.
Spontaneous evolution.
I've read that too, actually. Yeah,
it's fabulous.
It is.
It's fabulous, and he's talking about the whole entire epigenetic code that we have control over our genes.
That book at home.
It's really, really amazing, and it's a read that everyone should actually dabble into.
Yeah,
because it just makes you understand how much power you do have over what happens to you.
Right.
Say the name of it again.
It's Spontaneous Evolution.
Bruce
Lipton.
Okay. The audience got
Just
that.
because you may have like a family history of something or a predisposition to something doesn't mean that switch will have to ultimately be turned on. I mean, you can keep it turned off through your habits and your lifestyle.
And your thought process and what your environment.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things in the book that he does mention is that he has, if you have a child that's adopted into a family that has a certain disease pattern, they'll adopt that disease because of the environment that they're living. Not that they are genetically coded to it.
Right.
They adapt it because the family that they're living with, the environment.
It's giving off vibrations that they become aligned with.
They align with that disease. So
we've talked about that with our pets. Animals, like how they'll take on similar diseases. Yeah.
I've witnessed that. Yes, I've witnessed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the vast information that's out there. It's out there, and you just have to kind of align with it, and it just keeps coming to you. There's something new all the time. I'm adding something to my shake all the time.
Really?
I used to go on. I still do retreats, meditation retreats, and one of them I went on was with Dr. Michael Beckwith, Reverend Michael Beckwith.
Oh yes, he's amazing.
And every time he spoke, he had this green drink up on the stage, and someone always raised their hand and say, "What's in the green drink?" And he would say, "I couldn't even tell you. If I start to tell you, you're not going to write them down. It changes every day." Yeah. Now I understand what the green drink is.
Yeah, it's whatever you have fresh and available and on hand.
In the garden, right? Yeah.
Yep. And in season, I think that's important. We tend to
in season.
We tend to buy foods that aren't grown locally and from all over the world. I mean, if you're to adapt to like your winter and your your climate and your environment, and you're eating like tropical foods in the middle of winter, maybe that's not the right thing. I don't know. I have that theory anyway.
Yeah.
Like it just
That's interesting too.
Like honey, like they say, if you eat honey from your local area, you build up immunity to different like allergens in the environment.
Except up here in the north, I don't think anything grows outside in the winter.
Yeah.
So what do we do then?
No.
That's a little hard. Yeah.
Well, then that's when you eat nuts and seeds and all those things that you store through the winter. Plus, I think naturally in the winter, we're supposed to be more hibernators and eat less, and lose weight. But
Except we burn up more calories in the winter, keeping warm. Yeah, I had read that we actually burn up more calories keeping warm, but then we don't move around, so it's like a catch-22 situation. In the summer we don't burn up as many, but we run around more. And we perspire and we do more things, more outdoor things. So it's a catch-22. It really is.
I read this book once, and I forget the author, but I think it was called Lights On, and it was that whole theory of, since the advent of electricity and having lights on all the time, how we've gotten out of sync with our biorhythms. You could be up all night with the lights on, and how this has been causing diabetes and other problems.
You brought up two great points there. That one was honey. Is honey good for you or bad for you? You hear both sides. And from what I've learned is honey is actually good.
Yeah,
it's actually good.
I don't know why it would be bad for you.
Yeah, well, because of the sugar content. For people that are diabetics, are saying don't use honey. And then as I've studied more, people are saying, why?
Well, when my daughter, she had that autoimmune problem, and honey was one of the only things she could have, because she had a situation where she couldn't digest dye and polysaccharides, and honey is a monosaccharide, so it's less complex. So like the less complex the food was, the more natural, the more whole, the better she was with it.
And like honey, that's because they do process a lot of honey.
Yes.
So you have to
you have
get
to
the good raw honey if you can, or the honey from the health food
store.
stores.
Yep.
Not the supermarkets,
The other thing they talk a lot about now is the barefoot revolution. Have you been hearing anything about that lately?
Sure.
To get your feet back on the on the
grounded,
earth, to be grounded. So there's just so much out there like that you connect with, and that just becomes the change of your lifestyle.
Right.
That you actually kind of grow into.
I went through this thing with my daughters at one point to help make them aware of like the foods they were eating, like how many hands have touched this food before it got to your plate, like was it in a factory, like how many workers must have touched it,
how many vibrations are on
it. Because you never know, like there's a disgruntled employee or there's somebody who's
you have to pray over it. That's what I do all the time. Pray before each meal.
Heal them all. Heal them all.
Yes.
That's the other thing too we're touching on, is that you have to, like you said, align yourself with the healing and think positive. And that without that,
it's a whole vibration.
Works,
it's a whole vibration of thought. Everything starts with a thought, and you line up with healing rather than lining up with fear.
And that's
when you line up with fear, you get those knots in your stomach, and it cuts things off. Cuts it off in your brain, cuts it off in all your cells.
That's why when you had touched on that a little bit, and it's true, that sometimes the people that you talk to, friends and so forth, they'll say, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And I've heard so many people, especially the older people, who love to talk about their illnesses. It's almost like something they own, and it's a kind of
badge.
There's only two emotions in the work. I'm not into emotion. Two things that we do. One is either a call for love or a giving of love. And the illness thing, talking about, it's a call for love, because we're trying to elicit sympathy for that.
Yeah, stay in that victim.
So I had read a story about a woman who was curing herself from cancer, and she did. The Bernie Siegel story.
Yeah.
And she had to let some of her friends go that were telling her, you can't do that. You have to go and keep taking that chemo and keep taking all that stuff. You can't do. So she said, if you're not going to think positive and be with me on this, then So it's a whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I had this beautiful gift from my daughter who's just amazing, and we were sitting, a group of adults were all sitting, and we were talking, and she's just sitting there, we're having breakfast, and we're watching, listening to the conversation. And at the end of it, as we were leaving, she says to me, "Why do adults talk about their illnesses?" And if you listen to the conversation, each person was talking about their illness.
They all took turns, and
they just pass around, and this person has that, and this person has that, and
I
they
have to
talk
get up
illness.
and leave. Then this is when
They're
I have
so
to
perceptive, those kids.
I go into silence, and she knows that about me. I just go into silence and don't participate, because my energy field is, I don't want to have anything to do with, if there's healing, I don't want to do anything on the other angle, because it's just an energy that I don't want to be involved in.
Yeah.
They own it. You don't own it.
Yeah.
You tell, like you said, there's no place for you here. There's no vibration here for you.
The whole labeling, like, I just think that it's done us such a disservice. Like, I know, people they'll have to find a diagnosis so they can get, a prescribed formula for healing or whatever, like conventional medicine or allopathic wise. But, those labels, like, keep us from, like, discovering, like, the whole, we're treating a whole system here, not just this particular part of us or that particular part of us.
Dr. Christine Northrup.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, she's on a campaign, basically.
You mentioned her last time we were on the show.
To change this whole entire thing of Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
She says, because when you put the word cancer in, it creates fear, you create more cancer.
Right.
As consciousness goes, people think cancer rather than
breast health awareness,
breast awareness month.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then you see how big it becomes, like, an industry, because now everyone's wearing pink.
Yes.
And it is an industry,
but they relate it to,
that in itself scares me.
Yes, they relate pink to cancer.
Yeah.
And that creates fear.
It's all to make money. No matter how we do it, it's all money making. It's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just
and the whole
very sad.
Fight cancer,
Fight that. I remember when Patrick Swayze was dying. An article I read about him. He said he's going to fight it. They said, don't feed your cancer. Don't feed it anything healthy. Don't take healthy foods. Don't stop smoking. It's poison, so you want to give it poison. Oh. I thought, oh my God, what an awful way to...
backwards message.
Yeah. The poor baby. I wish I could have talked to him, but it didn't help him.
So much misinformation.
His will kept him alive as long as he was,
right,
and that was it,
right.
To stay alive. But what he was doing to his body, it's so sad that people do this.
I think that, how you recommended, go online, get information. I know when I was doing that for my daughter's situation, like when I made that shift and I was like, okay, only hope, like I was really, really aware of how, information provoked me. Did it make me feel calm or did it make me feel, fearful? And I, would say, okay, that makes me feel fearful. Set it aside. Not that I wouldn't read it, whatever, for what it was worth, but, I just wouldn't follow it because it didn't resonate in my body as something that felt right, And I think people need to be more in touch with that gut
Trust
instinct.
yourself.
Yes, the gut
Know
instinct.
thyself. You should know yourself.
Yep.
There are some things that I take that aren't in balance with me. They don't make me feel good or have a reaction to them, so I just cut that one out. Mm-hmm. But you just generally move it around and do that. That's an excellent point. You go with. I had a cousin of mine who was diagnosed with diabetes also, and he called me because he knew that I had it 2 years ahead of him. And he said, I have two doctors, and one doctor's telling me this, and one doctor's telling me this, and one doctor's telling me this, and he couldn't work because of it. He stopped work, and I said, he said, what do you think I should do? Which doctor makes you feel the best?
Right.
Go to that doctor. If one is giving you fear and the other one's giving you hope, go to the hope doctor.
Right. And I know even Bernie Siegel always shares an example in his lectures about, people say, well, is chemotherapy the right, path for me? And he works a lot with art, so he has his patients draw the pictures, and he said if they draw a picture of chemotherapy all dark and gloomy and this big needle at them, he said not for you. And if it's like all sunshine and hope and all of that, he knows that mentally that belief system is going to override.
Yeah.
So
It's an amazing thing. We talk about vibration. I'm just putting this out here because I'm here. It's like, if you think about this, the top in the Fortune 500, the top 5 companies are pharmaceutical companies.
Wow.
And they make more than the rest of the rest of the 500.
Oh, I know. We've
There's
had
something
shows
interesting
on this.
about that.
Yeah, call it
That makes you-
interesting. I call it something else,
Yeah, I see
but
it. I'm being very kind, but
I
that's
know you
very
are.
interesting.
oh, I know. There's a drug.
If you think about
There's
that
a
influence that
clinic
has.
on every corner. Drugstores are now administering flu shots.
That's
and
what, like,
it's like,
I read an article about, like, is this supposed to be like, I don't know, we've said, oh, that's beneficial, that's admirable, we have all these, resources available to us. I think, it's a sign of a problem, like, if we're so unhealthy that we have to have, a drugstore every corner and, right across from it, and outpatient services, every other corner. That's not
they're having clinics in
advancement, that's a
drugstores now.
problem.
Clinics in drugstores.
Yeah, flu shots and all of that.
What's really upsetting me and worrying me is now they're giving so much drugs to children.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
the
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
vaccines.
Yeah.
It's overload. And we wonder why we have
Not
these
just
chronic...
vaccines, but drugs.
Yeah.
Medication.
Very, very rapidly. Very rapidly, they
Yeah.
give them out, yes.
But even with the vaccines, the children are required to have so many vaccines in this short period of time. If that doesn't do something to your immune system, it hypercharges it. Then it wants to attack everything. You can't expect, it to be in balance after that.
Absolutely.
Then they get the doctors to say that, they're not getting their flu shots and they're getting sick and there's a survey and there's
that
this and
whole
there's
message.
that. And people buy into that. It's a mass hysteria type of thing.
Yeah, it is mass
I was
hysteria.
on the way in here tonight listening to the spontaneous evolution, and they were talking about way back when women weren't smoking cigarettes. It wasn't really popular. What they did was they got the doctors to say, cigarettes help you lose weight,
Oh, boy. Yeah.
to create this
To
industry.
create a hype for it.
To
Yep.
create the industry, and that was, and the people that were running the cigarette companies were saying, this is how we start. You get the doctors on board to say this is a great way to lose weight. Everyone jumps on it. And then they took models, and they showed them, they had them smoking cigarettes.
The Marlboro
And then it
Man
became,
and-
what was the saying? We've come a long way, baby.
You come a long way, baby, yeah.
But
Amazing.
that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happens.
We talked about, and I have a feeling the need to say it again, on past shows, especially the ones when we had Dr. Sensenig on with natural things. We talked about way, way, way back when, and make this as brief as possible, when there was only natural medicine, natural herbs, when the world was, very young, and people would take that to cure themselves. And one day someone said, why can't we make some money on this?
Yeah, they want to patent it.
Why can't we do something, patent it, and make money? This is a wonderful thing that's going to waste without making any money. So they took it and they analyzed it to see what was in it, and they made a chemical equivalent. And it became allopathic medicine, allopathic drugs, as a opposed to natural. Okay? And that's what they did. But you can't copy Mother Nature to the T. Side effects. And that's why there's horrendous side effects from all these things. So
One of the things
that's
is,
what happened. That's
is-
how the drug industry got started.
One of the things about insulin is it's insulin, but it's not the insulin that your body makes.
Yeah,
No.
right.
And eventually,
Your
it
body
catches up with
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Eventually,
so it's
if
not
you're
aligned, and you're having
it
too
catches
much
up
of
with
it,
you.
yeah.
So, that's that whole entire.
Another story.
All of
Yeah.
it. But it's hard because all of it is fear-based, and people buy into the fear. And like you said, and it's very hard for people to make changes and let go and try what started this world. Try
Yeah.
what was meant to be the way it was supposed to be. But
I always say we're not looking on the surface for the answers. When we make things of chemicals, we have to dig deep. We have to dig deep into the ground for things below the surface, like minerals and things that we wouldn't necessarily expose ourselves to. When all the answers are on the surface there, they're growing right on the ground.
Yeah. I heard this. Someone said that for these different countries that don't like us, instead of flying planes into our buildings, buy fast food restaurants. We'll be dead in 20 years.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, Larry, we have about 2 more minutes left. Is there any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience? We know you've been here before, and you've come from, you help people who have addictions, drugs, and so forth, and that's a wonderful thing that you do. But is there anything you'd like to say to our audience, like the last thoughts with all this?
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
It really is, and you need to trust what made you and who made you, and you need to have trust your Creator. Yeah. You have the answers.
Yeah,
I meet
and they're all within you.
Yeah, I meet with people for addiction, and the first thing I tell them day one is, I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know.
It's not outside of you.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my clients.
It's
you have
remembering.
all the answers.
Yeah.
Yep. Inside of you.
And then trust that.
Yeah.
And trust that.
And I just want to say, it's amazing because you are such an example of healing. Like, you've had so many personal journeys, and I wouldn't say, they were battles and you fought them, but like you just opened up to that healing process, and between the addictions and the diabetes and, the skin condition, what an amazing mission you've had in this lifetime.
You hit it right on the head too. It's not, they weren't wrong and they weren't a battle. They were learning processes on the journey that I'm on.
Right.
That's right.
And I've been very blessed with that.
I know. You've realized that what came to you was a blessing. All illness is a blessing. It's a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
And you have done that.
Absolutely.
And the healing that you do, the natural healing, the energy healing, everything that you do, the Safa, all that you do, is just, it's wonderful.
Well, thank you both for letting me come and talk about it.
Well, you're a treasure to us.
You're welcome.
You know that.
You really are. All right, well, it's time to say bye, and it's time to give out the information.
Great.
How to reach Larry and ourselves. To contact Larry Webb. He's with Insight Alternative Addiction Healing. That's who he is. And you can reach him at
IAAH for the initials.
I'm sorry, IAAH at .203service.com. Okay, that's all right. That's an I.
That's
IAAH, right?
IAAH service.com.
.203service.com.
You don't even need the 203, just service.com.
Oh, service.com, okay. And his phone number is 203-804-1380.
Okay, and
go ahead.
For information about the show or any of our past shows, and to find out when our shows will be playing in your area, or for any questions you may have, please email us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com, or call Rosemary at 203-627-7966, or Traci at 203-232-3405. And please be sure to check us out on Facebook at Healing Outside the Box. We would love to entertain your comments and questions and further this conversation.
And our quote for tonight is, "Do not mistake the simplicity of Creator's message to you. It is simply this: my peace and serenity and love are ever available to you. Also, do not mistake this to mean what the world calls death. It is indeed the death of an old way of thinking, but stepping back into the Creator's house is an attitude, a renewed way of thinking, an openness to seeing love and heaven in everything around you. Faith, that willingness to receive love, is also extended to you from a loving Creator who has complete faith in you and wants to receive your love. Are you ready to offer it?"
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Join us again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Feel your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow